What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast, episode 127. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and horror aficionado, Chris Rivers. Listen. We got to talk a little bit this week when we did the Aquaman, the Lost Kingdom, Forever Kingdom, the Brotherhood Kingdom, whatever the subtitle is for it, which will be live on our show by now. If you are watching this podcast, it'll already be live on our YouTube, on our little playlist for the Nerdwide Reacts. So make sure you watch it. But Chris, how have you been? I haven't really talked to you much since then.
Horrible. No, more work.
Yeah.
I did 6 in a row and had today off. And then I got 2 more. And then I'll have like 6 or 7 off. I finally got some vacation coming up.
Beautiful. Time to catch up on a lot of things.
Yeah, definitely. How are you doing?
Man, I'm okay. We had Friday Night Lights here. My throat is sore. I want to say it's from yelling because it started being sore yesterday morning when I woke up. It's not really drainage, but it's been a very, very, very high pollen week here in Tennessee, and so that's been messing with me a little bit. But other than that, it's been a pretty decent week.
So I've heard that there's a member of the medical staff flirting on the sidelines with people.
Listen, they gotta get it together down there on the sidelines because they are. It's week after week at this point. They're calling it RBF or no, RFF, resting flirting face, and I just can't have that. So she did great though. It was good. It was a good game. We won. It's our first one of the season, so we're 1-4, which is a complete opposite of what we were last season, where we lost like 3 or 4 games the whole entire.
Well, the
season.
Players are distracted. That's the problem.
That's all it is. They did two onside kicks. The one squib kick was very cool. Hit the defender in the thigh, bounced back, and we got it back. So it was a fun game. I like games like that. High school games, are not the best to watch, but over my weekends, I watch high school, college, and then pro. And I'm like, what else is there to watch now besides like Pee Wee and stuff like that? But it's starting to become a pretty good sports fan of these football.
I would think it would be harder if you watched pro first.
Right, it just decreases down. Yeah. Well, some of those college players played better than the NFL players did today, and at least a lot more entertaining. Well, I can't say that because the Colorado and Colorado State game was excellent. Vanderbilt was great up until about the third quarter, and then the Titans went to overtime as well. So I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on in the sports world, but I'm here for it. Too stressful, though.
Right.
So luckily I didn't bet any money. Not yet. I like to give it a couple weeks until I can see how people are playing, and then I'll get on the betting game. Of course, if you've got gambling issues, go to your gambling counselors. I'm not a betting aficionado or anything like that. So
Colorado looks like a good bet.
Oh, they are a lot of fun. I don't know if they play Oregon this week coming up, so I don't know.
They got it.
That's how I feel. They're going to win it all. That's all I care about. Number one is at this point. Quick housekeeping. This is not a sports podcast, but we do enjoy the fine sports. Look, Monday night, though, Steelers, Browns.
Oh.
Don't know if I'm going to stay up for it or not. But quick housekeeping. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you subscribe down below or give us a thumbs up and rate and review us, whatever podcasting service you do use. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, leave us a comment down below. We can't fix anything. Don't know if it's broken. Any segments you want to do or want us to do. That's a kind of good little suggestion box there if you want to do that. Of course, if you want to do you have to do this box, go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers for 3 different monthly subscription little values there. That is where it's not a suggestion anymore. It's hey, you're doing this kind of thing. So if you want to read, watch, talk about any of that kind of stuff, that is the spot to do it. We have a book review coming up soon, hopefully next week. if not the week after. I've got a buddy of ours is an author who writes a couple of horror books, so now I've purchased the first one. I'm going to read through it, and we're going to discuss it. Don't know if we're going to do like just a me kind of thing or have Chris involved as well, because they're not that long of books, so it'll just be kind of a quick, like maybe a little 5-minute video or something like that. But that is coming up, so make sure you are paying attention to that. We are in full force of our Halloween 2023 horror movie-thon. We got 3 movies coming at you this week. This is our second week, and there's a whole range of movies tonight. That's all I'm going to say, and I really cannot wait to talk about that. We are also, in the meantime, while we are waiting for like Loki to start up, did officially talk about there is a new Goosebumps series coming out, officially a reboot, I guess is what they're calling it, on Disney Plus, and it will be on Hulu as well. We are going to review that. We don't know the timeline yet. They're dropping 5 episodes at once. We don't know if they're 30 minutes. We don't know if they're an hour. So it just kind of depends on everything on what the timeline is going to look like for it. But for a while, there'll be Loki and Goosebumps back to back. So we'll finally have more shows to talk about. But until then, we are finally rewatching Harley Quinn, the animated show on Max. We are in season 2. We finished season 1 the beginning of the year is when we did this.
I think so, yeah.
And now here we are in season 2. Season 5 is dropping episodes right now. So we're going to finish season 2, and it's going to lead us right all up into Loki and Goosebumps and everything. Hopefully Doom Patrol whenever that comes out, and all of our other shows, but we don't know that. But until then, just keep up to date on all of our socials for all of the good times there. So let's just get into it. Harley Quinn season 2, episodes 1 through 4 is what we're going to talk about tonight. Chris, I know you've been working a bunch of overtime this week. Have you had a chance to watch anything?
Not on the TV side, no. I did catch an extra movie this week. But,
Ooh.
not on TV.
Now here in the Haynes household, we're watching a bunch of Big Brother, obviously, because that's 3 nights a week. We watched, I've been watching Suits a lot. That's the Netflix show of choice. And, I'm a lawyer at this point, so... and Supernatural, but kind of still going through the rewatch of that because it is Halloween time. Like when we do these horror fest things, it's all I want to do is do Halloween stuff, fall stuff. We can't decorate the house until after Stella's birthday party, which bugs me because I would rather like the first day of September. That's when I want to decorate for Halloween and get everything going. There is a neighborhood in my house I want to take people to and show off. A house in my neighborhood that has like the most crazy looking Halloween stuff already up, and like they're still every day they go through and do more stuff, and I'm like, this looks great. Like they've got a giant 12-foot skeleton that they've rigged where like smoke's coming out of its mouth and it's badly orange and everything. I'm like, all right, these guys know what they're doing, and I feel like a schmuck, but I can't do anything until after these birthday parties, so 2 more weeks.
Do you have any houses near you that allow people to come through? Like, do they decorate and have like a little haunted house?
No, I see it. That would be cool. We've got one maybe like 4 houses down. Like if you're looking out this window, that does their driveway and front yard that way, and then you have to go like walk through and everything. And we've got a garage, and then there's a window above it, and some a lot like I think like 2 hours of Halloween night, they'll have someone dressed up like as a ghost or like something, it just depends what the year is, and they'll appear in the window. Sometimes they'll open the window and look out and just kind of move around and then shut the window and kind of go back. It's really cool. I really enjoy what they do. But other than that, like there's not really a whole lot that go on here, and we don't hand out candy because Stella is still young and likes to trick or treat, so we don't hand out candy or anything. But
right.
And we can't even do our projection screen this year because of the bonus room. We've got our new sectional. We did the whole bonus room. So that's usually where I would put my projector that goes out to the window and put little haunted stuff up there. But we can't do that anymore. So I don't know what we're going to do. I wish I had like a big one and I could hang it from like the ceiling or the wall and put it on this window. But I don't have that kind of money. So, but no, other than that, that's all I've been watching. Harley Quinn Season 2, Episodes 1 through 4. We're going to wikipedia.org for all of this. I'm just going to run through the synopsises, and we'll stop and talk about whenever we get there. Original air dates are April 3rd, 2020, April 10th, April 17th, and April 24th, all in 2020. for all of this. Episode 1 is titled A New Gotham. Weeks after the Joker's defeat and Batman's disappearance, the president has declared the destroyed Gotham a no-man's land and has officially exiled it from the U.S., while Harley and her crew revel in the resulting chaos. The GCPD surviving officers, with the exception of Gordon, have become outnumbered and unmotivated to restore law and order, as various sections of the cities have been taken apart or taken over by the Penguin, Riddler, Bane, Two-Face, and Mr. Freeze, who have formed the Injustice League, following the Legion of Doom's destruction. Harley disapproves of their control, especially after they give her a small piece of territory to rule. She attempts to rebel against them, only to get herself captured. Months later, Ivy and the rest of her crew manage to break her out. After killing the Penguin, Harley sets out to seek revenge against the Injustice League. Meanwhile, paramedics find Bruce Wayne among the rebel. I think they did a good job of setting all this up. We do have a time jump, which was great, but you didn't even know you had it until the end of the episode. But I do like that we're killing off villains and just essentially going to be done.
Right.
And she's crossing them off a little cork board. She just says 3 down, 3 to go. I think that's what the whole section's being. The next episode, we get a pretty new character origin story, a new one, which is kind of cool how they change these things up. But it's good to be back in this world, and Kaylee Cuoco. So she's amazing as Harley Quinn.
And I will say that watching these 4 episodes, I did not think as much about who was voicing Harley as I did before. I think because she's kind of been with Big Bang off the air, and the commercials that she was doing have slowed down. I know she's doing other stuff, but it's not as top of mind on who's voicing it.
Right. It's easier to take it away from her past characters and stuff.
Right.
Episode 2 is titled Riddler U. After learning that the Riddler has power and clean water, Harley, Ivy, and Clayface make plans to infiltrate his stronghold, Riddler University, while King Shark and Dr. Psycho venture through Two-Face and Bane's territories to secure a water filter. Harley nearly blows her cover in front of the tour guide, Barbara Gordon, after attacking a Riddler mascot she mistook for the Riddler himself. Harley and Ivy find Barbara intending to kill her before she can warn the Riddler, but she tells them she wants to stop him after deducing he was responsible for kidnapping students ever since he took over, that she procured invitations for a party at a fraternity house where the disappearance occurred. I want to stop. Clayface, they said during this episode, his best acting gig yet that he's done. And, like, they said, he pulls off the crop top better than you do, Harley. It's just very, very funny how they did this whole episode with him. Harley and Ivy steal the invitations for themselves and Clayface and successfully enter the party, where they learn that kidnapped students are being used as human batteries to power a water and electric system. The Riddler captures them, but they are rescued by Barbara, who became inspired by her father, Commissioner Gordon, and Batman, to successfully stop the Riddler herself. Instead of killing the Riddler, Harvey, Ivy, and Clayface use him as their own battery to power them all, while Barbara becomes Batgirl. So, nice little different origin story than we're kind of used to for her.
Poor Commissioner Gordon. He's just falling apart.
He is a mess. I'm pretty sure this is the one where
out of his chest there.
Just taking a shower. He goes, "Oh, I forgot my phone." No, what he got? A beer. Yeah, he gets a new shower beer. Threw his badge out in the ocean. And poor guy. I think he cracks me up. Even last season, he was very dumb but funny, and I just kind of like that. Episode 3, Catwoman. After a failed attempt to infiltrate Mr. Freeze's lair, Harley and her crew decide to steal Firefly's flamethrower from Dr. Trapp's museum in order to melt their way in. Harley and Ivy recruit Kite Man and Catwoman to help them, while the others have to locate the Riddler after he manipulated Psycho into facilitating his escape. During the theft, Ivy starts to question the direction her life is going and finds herself under even more pressure as Kite Man steals a ring from the museum and proposes to her. To make matters worse, Catwoman betrays them and escapes on her own, leaving them to die until they manage to escape using the flamethrower. After beating Dr. Trapp and heading home, Harvey and Ivy help the rest of the crew recapture the Riddler, who decides to keep powering them all for the time being, because he gets 3 good meals a day and cardio. Hilarious. Afterward, Harley convinces Ivy that she does not have to feel ashamed about letting her past go, so she finds Kite Man and insists he pops the question again.
I'd make her wait.
Yeah. mean, it's been 3 times, so.
Yeah. I'd be like, nah, I'm not doing it when you want me to.
Right. We're not playing this game. You might be a very hot, sexy villain, but we're not doing that. And then episode 4, titled Thawing Hearts. Harley, Clayface, Psycho, and King Shark successfully use Firefly's flamethrower to storm Mr. Freeze's lair, only to get captured. Freeze explains his many failed attempts to save his ailing frozen wife, Nora Freeze, before trying to use Harley as a human lab rat, but she convinces Freeze to call Ivy if she is certain can find a cure for Nora's illness. While they wait, Freeze invites them to lunch and relates his history with Nora. Due to her experience with the Joker, however, Harley believes he is lying and that Nora is actually a prisoner, so she uses Freeze's gun to thaw her out, only to learn she really is dying, and they are in love. An incensed Freeze threatens to kill everyone by detonating his lair unless Ivy finds the cure. Meanwhile, Ivy and Kite Man attempt to secure a wedding venue, but are forced to leave to save Harley and lose his preferred location to his nemesis, the Condiment King. Ivy successfully creates a cure, but due to Nora's rare blood type, someone else has to take it, then give Nora a blood transfusion, which will kill the prior. Freeze volunteers to sacrifice himself for Nora, which Harley recognizes as an act of true love. Which, this makes her essentially Mr. Freeze, right? Or she's going to be Mrs. Freeze and get revenge, is how I'm going to think. Probably how this is going to work. But really cool, but you would think that Ivy would have done something before now, try to cure this disease or anything, but writing, I guess.
Right. So it was a nice stretch of episodes.
Yeah, I enjoyed coming back into this universe. Always fun to listen to the raunchy jokes. All the deaths are fun, like at the end where they're sitting on the pier and Ivy is pouring acid on people held up by her vines, and they just melt and bones and all. I was like, this is just a dub fun show, and I'm just glad we're back to it.
It's kind of sad that an animated series like this is better than most of the DC movies that come out.
And they're kind of scary, and it just makes you wonder what's going on in the world. I don't have any new releases this week. Of course, we're still amongst our writing strike and acting strike, so we're not really going to get much besides reality TV.
I think it'll go to the start of the year.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
They'll come to an agreement November, December, and January 1. They'll start back to work.
Yeah, they even had another meeting, and like they said, they were nowhere near making an agreement. I'm like, well, all right, well, what can you do?
Meanwhile, we've had an auto worker strike begin, and that they're already making progress towards an agreement. Yeah. So
same thing with the I think UPS happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was UPS a couple weeks ago. That didn't last, but no, it didn't even start. Because they said this is what's going to happen, and they said this is what we need, and they like maybe it was about to happen within a couple of hours. It was about to happen, and then they met their demands. So, like, oh, okay, it works.
That's called intelligence.
Yes, makes sense.
Anywho, so we're on to movies. We didn't really watch anything this week, though. No.
That's a fun this week.
Did you watch anything other than?
No, I didn't watch anything this past couple weeks. It's just been full-on busyness and TV shows.
Gotcha.
Well, work rather. I'm gonna put it that way.
I watched The Blind Side.
Oh,
it's not the first time I've seen it.
For real?
It was not the first time.
Oh, I thought you said it's the first time. So, did you watch this because of all the allegations and things going on?
Actually, I had family that had not seen it, and they wanted to watch it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Because I kind of wanted to revisit it for the allegations.
Right.
And see what was going on anyway.
Want to live in a nice fantasy world where they actually did that out of the kindness of their hearts.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've only heard parts of what's going on with the case. But
yeah. We'll wait until see when the full thing's done and allegedly. So, and it's ended up proving guilty at this point. So,
yeah.
Although it doesn't look good.
No, it really doesn't. But on the rewatch of it, I gave it 3.5 stars. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. I really enjoy it. Especially with all the cameos in it.
Yeah. you got Saban and Fulmer and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the hot coaches at the time. It was made. Well, I don't know if it was made when he was there, but it was the time period when Saban was still at LSU.
Yeah.
So, all right. So on to our movies of the week. Let's, if you want to, let's do John Carpenter's Vampires first.
Okay.
Since the last two are connected, we can. I feel like there's going to be more to say about it, chapters 1 and 2,
Mm-hmm.
than about John Carpenter's Vampires. Um, so
That's just good though. So I got Fury up in his kennel. I'm the only one home right now, and I guess he was scratching. It just sounded like knocking, like from on the other side of the house where there's no doors. Just freaked out. But I was like, oh, then he shook a little bit. I was like, okay, it was Fury. I'm okay, but glued.
are you going to be okay? Do we need to wait for you to get someone else in the house?
Yeah, no, I'm good now.
Okay. All right. Because you know, Pennywise could be Fury. Never know.
It's true.
Um, so John Carpenter's Vampires. Not. I'm just looking. I'm just started to go down the plot on Wikipedia, and it mentions, like, of course, release date. It came out in 1998, October 30th, and a $20 million budget and a domestic box office take of 20.3 million. So, not great. I think this was Carpenter's last film before the year 2000. I think it was his last film of the 90s.
It was definitely a 90s film.
Recall. Definitely was. I will say 108 minutes.
Too long.
The length of it was. I didn't think it was that bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Because
But
I wasn't the biggest fan of this one.
well, so you want me to do the plot and then we'll do our scores.
Let's do it.
Fun stuff. Jack Crow leads his team of Vatican-sponsored vampire hunters into a daylight raid on an abandoned house in New Mexico. Finding a nest of vampires, the team subdue the creatures with gunfire, pikes, and wooden stakes, using a modified crossbow attached to a mechanical winch to pull them outside, where they're incinerated by sunlight. Despite disposing of 9 goons, Jack is concerned about not having found their older, more powerful master. While the team drunkenly celebrates with prostitutes at a local motel, as you do, the master vampire Valak arrives and bites one of the prostitutes, Katrina, initiating her transformation into a vampire. He swiftly murders the hunters, with only Crow and his trusted lieutenant Tony Montoya escaping alive with Katrina. Disturbed that Valak recognized him by name, Crow orders Montoya to lay low with Katrina, hoping to use her growing psychic link with Valak to track him down. After burying his team and burning down the motel, Crow reports to his superior, Cardinal Alba, who confirms Valak was a disgraced priest who led a rebellion against the church, leading to his execution and transformation into the first vampire. Valak has already killed another group of slayers in Germany, and Alba instructs Crow to form a new team, accompanied by archivist Father Adam Guiteau. Suspecting that his team was betrayed, Crow interrogates Guiteau and dispels his heroic notions of vampire hunting, showing him a map of vampire activity that indicates the vampires are searching the southwest for an unknown object. Guarding Katrina at a hotel, Montoya explains the changes she's experiencing. Horrified, she attempts suicide and bites Montoya when he rescues her, which he hides from Crow and Guiteau when they arrive. Crow decides to pursue Valak without gathering a new team, and Katrina is linked with Valak when he questions and kills a priest. Sensing Guiteau is hiding something, Crow threatens him, recounting he killed his own father for being bitten by a vampire and killing Jack's mother in front of him. Guiteau reveals that Valak is seeking an ancient relic, the Black Cross of Berzier, and Crow welcomes him to the team as his new slayer. Using Katrina's psychic link, Jack, Montoya, and Guiteau learn that Valak has roused 7 additional masters. They follow the vampires to a Spanish mission, where Valak has slaughtered the monks and seized the cross. Guiteau realizes Valak plans to complete his own exorcism. making him immune to sunlight and virtually unstoppable. Searching a nearby abandoned town, they suspect at least 30 new goons have been transformed. Gateau volunteers as bait for the masters, allowing Jack to harpoon them and Montoya to drag them into sunlight. While they manage to kill most of his lieutenants, Valak and his undead army overwhelm them at sundown. Crow is captured, Gateau takes cover, and Montoya and Katrina flee, only for her to fully transform and bite Montoya on the throat before joining Valak. Cardinal Alba reveals himself as Valak's ally. Having grown to fear death, he has agreed to help Valak recreate the original ritual in exchange for becoming a vampire himself. The ritual requires the participation of a priest and the blood and crucifixion of a crusader, Jack. Gateau kills Alba before he can complete the ritual and holds off the vampire horde by threatening to kill himself and leave Valak without a priest. Montoya and Gateau rescue Crow as the sun rises, and Crow confronts Valak, impaling him with the Berserker cross and destroying him in daylight. Gateau and Crow prepare to slay Montoya and Katrina, knowing their transformations are irreversible. However, to repay Montoya's 2 days of loyalty after being bitten, Crow grants them a 2-day head start. As Montoya and Katrina depart, Jack and Gateau head off to kill the remaining vampires. And that's the end of the movie. I thought it was going to say he had 2 days of loyalty, period. Right. And I was like, no, they were together a lot longer. What do you do? I liked it. I gave it three stars. I'd seen this before though, so I kind of knew what I was about to watch.
Right.
And it's got an interesting cast. Daniel Baldwin is Montoya. He got the part. His brother Alec Baldwin was originally attached to play that part, and he had to drop out because of another gig, and suggested his brother. So
I didn't know that.
That might have changed the whole movie.
Right. So the cardinal twist I caught on really early on. It's kind of not obvious, but for a 90s movie, it was pretty obvious kind of thing. It wasn't my favorite. Saw some fun things throughout it, though. I gave it 2 stars. Jamie gave it 0. She's very harsh on the movie, so she didn't like it at all. Yeah, so she said don't recommend and that it made kind of thing. So
there was nothing appealing about that movie to her at all.
No, she didn't like this one at all.
Is she a Twilight fan?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like her.
No. Her entryway into it all. No. She didn't like this one. Because we watched it part 1, part 2, and then this one. And then the football game. So she wasn't a fan of this one though. So
yeah, I was starting off at a 0.5 star, even if I'd never seen it before, just because it's a John Carpenter movie.
Right.
You know,
but you know.
Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah, this was pure 90s though. This was you've got the party in the hotel room.
Just because you could.
Just because you could. I did like the kill when the guy answers the door.
Yes.
And Valak is standing outside. He takes his hand and he just jabs his hand through the guy and then slices up. And they do that thing where they pause and it looks like he's just going to fall backward, and then he splits in half.
There were some good kills.
That was a nice little.
The Valak kill was, I think I really liked that one at the end with the actual the black crucifix. But let's be honest here, the Baldwin guy, Montoya, would have been dead after a neck bite right here to the jugular. So I was like, when he got bit, I was like, oh, okay, that's a weird way to end his character off. But he comes back, and I was like, okay, you know what? I give up.
Well, so technically, he is dead. He's a vampire.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. So,
but yeah, what'd you rate?
I get 2.
2. Yeah, so I was highest on this one.
Yeah.
But I think I'm older than both of you though, so that's probably.
Well, you know, and it's like a classic John
I've
Carpenter
s-
thing.
I,
So
I've seen it more often,
yeah.
so I knew what I was getting into. I have a fondness for it, I guess. Um, do you have any Easter eggs on this one?
Oh, you know what? I'm looking up. I didn't even think
I didn't. I
to.
didn't know if I didn't know if you were ready to go.
Despite being a horror
Um,
movie. Oh, despite being a horror movie, John Carpenter stated on the commentary that he did this movie because it resembled a western to him.
oh, there you go.
So, well, there you go.
I can see that.
Yeah,
And like most Carpenter movies, it's the soundtrack is
really good.
primarily composed by him.
Oh,
He does a lot of his own score.
let's see.
Um,
Yeah, that's about it.
just that it was like a western, so he
Oh,
wanted to.
Bruce Campbell was Carpenter's first choice to play Montoya.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would have been very
That would have
interesting.
been very interesting. Yeah. Speaking of Bruce, this is not horror related, but speaking of Bruce Campbell, you mentioned that you're going back now and watching Suits.
Hmm.
Did you ever see the show Burn Notice?
I have not. Is that a good one I need to watch too?
It's Yeah, check it out. Bruce Campbell's in it.
Mm. Man,
So
I'm not. I wouldn't think I'd be into these like lawyer type shows. Really like Suits. Like I don't know if it's because of
yeah,
Meghan Markle or what, but the show is very good and like it's not over the top smart, so I don't understand what's going on. So
yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, on to It, Chapter 1.
I'm excited.
We could just throw it all off and talk about Chapter 2 first. Uh,
Nah.
so this one released in 2017. Um, at 135 minutes, it didn't feel quite that
No,
long to
that
me.
one didn't. This one didn't feel that bad.
They had a budget of about 40 mil, and the box office was 701.8 million. So, made a little profit. By the way, Tyler just told us he's at home alone, and someone just handed him a drink.
Mountain
So
Dew
I don't know.
Voodoo mystery flavor.
Um, I think your house is haunted. Um,
Mm-mm. Nope.
all right, here we go. It Chapter 1. In October of 1988, 12-year-old Bill Denbrough crafts a paper sailboat for Georgie, his 6-year-old brother. Georgie sails the boat along the rainy streets of small-town Derry, Maine, only to have it fall down a storm drain. As he attempts to retrieve it, Georgie sees a clown in the drain, who introduces himself as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Pennywise entices Georgie to come closer, then rips his arm off and drags him into the sewer. The following summer, in June of 1989, Bill and his friends Richie Tozier, Eddie Kasbrak, and Stan Uris run afoul of older bullies Henry Bowers, Belch Huggins, Patrick Hockstetter, and Victor Chris. Bill, still haunted by Georgie's disappearance, calculates his brother's body may have washed up in a marshy wasteland called the Barrens. He recruits his friends to investigate, believing Georgie may still be alive. Then Hanscom, one of Bill's new classmates, learns that unexplained tragedies and child disappearances have plagued the town for centuries. Targeted
How
by
does nobody
Bowers,
know this? By the way, like that should be common knowledge.
it seems like a secret the adults probably keep.
Oh yeah,
Like, this happens every so often. We
that's
just
a good
don't want
point.
to talk about it. Um, Targeted by Bowers' gang, Ben flees into the Barrens and meets Bill's group. They find the sneaker of a missing girl named Betty Ripsum, while Patrick is killed by Pennywise while searching the sewers for Ben. Beverly Marsh, a girl bullied over her rumored promiscuity, also joins the group. Both Bill and Ben develop feelings for her. Later, the group befriends orphan Mike Hanlon after rescuing him from Bowers. Each member of the group has encountered terrifying manifestations of the same menacing clown who attacked Georgie. A headless, undead boy is who Ben saw. A sink that spews blood only children can see was Beverly's vision. A diseased and rotting leper was Eddie's
That
vision.
was so funny.
A disturbing painting coming alive was Stan's vision. That one was creepy.
Horrifying. That was horrifying.
Mike's parents burning alive, which he sees it, but it actually happened.
Yeah.
That was Mike's vision, and a frightening phantom of Georgie, which Bill sees. Now calling themselves the Losers Club, they realize they're all being stalked by the same entity, which they refer to as It. They determine that it appears as their individual worst fears, awakening every 27 years to feed on the children of Derry before resuming hibernation, and moves about by using the sewer lines, which all lead to an old stone well hidden under an abandoned house on Neibolt Street.
Who puts a house on top of that, by the way? That was the question I asked. I was like, okay, let's think engineering wise. That makes no sense. You got mold, mildew, you got all that kind of stuff that would come from this. So, suspend disbelief, I guess.
They did what they had to do.
Why didn't the house get torn down? The house has been condemned for however many years now. So, I mean,
no one wants that land yet.
That's a good point, yeah. It's on the end of a road and everything, so.
Right. After Pennywise attacks them, the group ventures to the house to confront it, only to be separated and terrorized. As Pennywise gloats to Bill about Georgie, the losers regroup, and Beverly impales Pennywise through the head, forcing the clown to retreat. The group flees the house and begins to splinter, with only Bill and Beverly resolute in fighting it. Weeks later, after Beverly confronts and incapacitates her sexually abusive father, Pennywise abducts her. The Losers Club reassembles and returns to the abandoned house to rescue her. Bowers, who has murdered his abusive father after being driven insane by it, attacks the group. Mike fights back and pushes Bowers down the well. The losers descend into the sewers and find its underground lair, which contains a mountain of decayed circus props and children's belongings, around which the bodies of its child victims float in midair. Beverly, now catatonic after being exposed to bright lights inside its gaping mouth, is restored to consciousness when Ben kisses her. Bill encounters Georgie, but recognizes he's It in disguise. As Pennywise, It takes Bill hostage, offering to spare the others and go into hibernation if they let It feed on Bill. The losers reject this, battling with it while overcoming their various fears. It's eventually defeated and retreats deeper into the sewers, with Bill declaring that it will starve during its hibernation. After finding the remnants of Georgie's raincoat, Bill finally comes to terms with his brother's death, with his friends comforting him. As summer ends, Beverly informs the group of a vision she had while catatonic, where she saw them fighting It again as adults. The losers swear a blood oath that they'll return to Derry as adults if It returns. After the others make their goodbyes and disperse, Beverly and Bill discuss her leaving the next day to live with her aunt in Portland, and before she leaves, Bill reveals his feelings and they kiss. End of chapter 1.
So, this town is so bad. There's nobody, ever, had, it. The parents were horrible, which was kind of one of those little sub-themes in this movie. Was how terrible all these parents were in different aspects. Yeah. And it was very, which I'm sure there's probably some undertone, if you deep dive into it, stuff about that. But each parent essentially were all bad in a certain way. Obviously some more than others. But man, I really, really, really enjoyed this movie. I did not think that I would. I gave this a 4.5 stars. Jamie gave it 5. And it was very cool. It had a little bit of humor kind of in it, just a touch. But the CGI and the visuals were great. Very, very well done. The Georgie getting his arm just ripped off in the middle of the street. I'm just oh God. And it just gets sucked straight down the thing. Bill Skarsgård killed it as Pennywise. Yeah. And I've heard, I've read stories and stuff of how much crazy stuff he did and really took on the character and freaked people out. It was good to see what's his name from Shazam, the brother, as the little hypochondriac character.
Yeah.
Stan is useless. The second movie, I'm kind of okay with what happened to him, but it's just, I really enjoyed this movie, and this is gonna be one that I'm going to want to get a physical copy of, just because I really did enjoy this one, and it makes me want to watch the first one as well. 4.5 as well.
Yeah. You're talking about the Tim Curry, John Ritter miniseries, right?
Yeah, I want to watch the original.
yeah, the this story years and years and years ago. I read the book. Um,
I need to. I think at some point in the future, I want to.
I've seen the original, and I'd seen you know part one and two of this before, but I'd only watched them once, so it was nice to be able to go back now and check it out again. The one of the things that I feel like Stephen King does a lot is those of us that live in metropolitan areas. I feel like we kind of find ourselves sometimes looking at small towns like that and going, man, that'd kind of be a nice change of pace to
Mm-hmm.
just live in a small town where everybody knows you. And what he kind of does is say, yeah, it's nice until you peel back the layers and you
Right.
figure out it's just as bad as the big city and probably worse because
Man, the bullying there was just
it's
horrible.
yeah, and you had the sheriff bullying his son, which turned him into a bully. Um, you had probably one of the creepiest ones was when Bev goes to the drugstore and her classmate's father is the pharmacist,
Mm-hmm.
and she's trying to kind of distract him so that the losers club can steal some stuff because I think that's when Ben's been had the H
Yeah,
carved
the
into
H
him
carved into him.
by um dipshit, and
Mm-hmm.
and the pharmacist just leans in and flirts right back,
Full on
and
creepy.
it's like, dude, what do you?
Mm-mm.
No,
He's got a
no,
daughter of his own too, and it was very,
yeah,
which was her
yeah,
bully. And
yeah. It was just every time you turn somewhere, even and it even goes to that opening sequence where Georgie has his arm ripped off and then he gets pulled into the sewer. The older lady whose front porch overlooks that sewer grate, she sees Georgie out there looking down the
yeah,
drain,
look
and
at down
then
the drain.
and then when she turns around for a minute and looks back, he's gone. But there's blood all in the
It's
street.
all red and everything.
Yeah, and she just goes inside,
Her and the cat. Come on.
which I think goes back to the this. She's probably in her 60s or so. It probably goes back to the fact they know this happens every so often,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just there's nothing we can do to stop it. So
Mm-mm.
you
I
know, you
that led to my question too, which kind of gets answered a little bit in the second movie. But I was like, so is it like a demon? Is this like an entity? What kind of is this thing? And the people that watched it with us, they said, it's you'll find out. I was like, okay, so I kind of left that be. Fun little trivia here for this one. Pennywise has only 4 minutes of dialogue in the entire film, which is crazy to me. So Jack Dylan Grazer from Shazam, who plays Eddie, was the first one out of all the kids to work with Bill Skarsgård. During their scene, Grazer would cry and gag while Skarsgård was right in his face, yelling and drooling. Skarsgård grew genuinely concerned for Grazer, and after the scene ended, asked him if he was okay. Grazer looked him dead in the eyes and said, "Love what you're doing with this character," and just walked away. Skarsgård was left confused and impressed at his attitude, calling the child actor a professional. I was like, let's
that's
see.
that's something else though. The drool. That's
Yes,
something I noticed in both movies. He's talking, and it's
just
not. It's just dripping
yep.
off of his lip.
Very like it was very cool. Some lines of dialogue were improvised by the actors. Much of Richie and Eddie banter was all improv, which is
Hmm.
nuts to me. And then the character who played Georgie, he's the youngest in the movie, and said that he wasn't scared of Pennywise as he thought he would be. He said he actually had a lot of fun filming his scenes due to Bill Skarsgård always joking around, making him feel comfortable. So good for
Yeah.
him, which is just hilarious. That I don't know. That'd be kind of weird filming those scenes. And then Annie Muschietti is in the. You can see him in the little drugstore in the background as a brief cameo. So
And that's one thing. If anyone is listening to this that hasn't seen these yet, there are moments where you definitely you want to be looking at the background because you can see stuff coming.
yes, there was a lot of things happening, and I would always pay attention to it. It was kind of fun. Like
Yeah, and
it was one of those movies like it was scary, but it wasn't like full on horrifying to be horrifying. Like it was telling a story, and it all made sense. It wasn't just jump scares to be jump scares. And like, what was really cool, I enjoyed was some of the nightmares or the visions or whatever turning into Pennywise
yeah,
throughout some. I was like, that is so cool how they did it that way. Uh, I'm trying to think of what the scariest thing was in this one. Probably the painting. I think was probably the
yeah.
scariest one for me. And then right there at the end when they shine the light and it's like just full on biting the Stan's face like this, I was like, oh
Hmm.
god! I was like, oh god, he's dead. But no, he's just biting on it.
I love the. And this goes back to the CGI, and it was in the original trailers when they dropped too, um, where they open the fridge and Pennywise is in there all
Yes,
bunched
crumpled up
up,
and
and then
everything.
as he un, unrolls or unwinds himself,
Just twist and looks at him. Oh
yeah.
god, it was so man, it was so cool.
And then you had the thing that a lot of kids probably, especially back then, did. I don't know if they would do it now, but just going to the lake and hanging out.
Yeah, just being kids. I mean, it definitely does not happen now because we live in
Now,
a very sick and twisted world. And we did
yeah.
back in the day, anyways. But also we, you guys. uh,
But they also do a good job though. That's one thing that they bring about through telling the story is these kids. You wake up each day. It's summer. You
hmm
hop on your bikes and you just go.
One kid who wanted just to play Street Fighter all year, all summer long,
Yeah,
and be the
yeah.
best at it.
So, um, really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
4.5. You were at 4.5. Jamie was at 5.
This might be our
Uh,
highest one so far. I just want to double
Might
check.
be.
Yep, overall, because Black Phone had 3.5 you, 3.5 me, Jamie had 4, and this one was 4.5, 4.5, 5. So highest horror movie 2023 so far.
I mean, it's a good one. Good one.
Yep.
Um, the second part's longer, I believe. Um,
Yeah. It to me it felt that way.
it definitely felt longer. Um, I thought they had released or filmed these close together, but I don't know if they did.
No, you could tell
Um,
from the child actors when they did the flashbacks that it had to be like a year or two because with child actors, you have to record things fairly
mhm.
often or like close to because these kids grow and some of them Beverly in this movie in the second movie you couldn't tell that much but like I forgot the kid's name. Oh, Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things. Very obvious. They tried to hide it with like thicker glasses and stuff, but he was very obvious. Bill was okay. Tits, which is what we call Ben, the whole movies. He was obvious. I felt like Jack Dylan Grazer, who played Eddie, was not that obvious, but some of the other ones I was like, okay, this is very clearly um, a time jump between filming. So
Yeah. All right, here we go with the plot. 27 years after its initial defeat, Pennywise returns to Derry, Maine in 2016. It kills a man named Adrian Mellon after he and his boyfriend are brutally assaulted by homophobic teens following a carnival. Mike Hanlon, the only member of the Losers Club who remained in Derry, calls the other members Bill Denbrough, Ben Hanscom, Beverly Marsh, Richie Tozier, Eddie Kasbrack, and Stanley Uris to honor the promise they made 27 years earlier to kill Pennywise if he came back. All of them return to Derry except for Stanley, who kills himself out of fear of the creature. At a Chinese restaurant, Mike refreshes the Losers Club memories before Pennywise itself reveals the news of Stanley's suicide to them. Richie and Eddie decide to leave until Beverly reveals she's had psychic visions of their deaths should they fail to fulfill their oath. Meanwhile, it kills a young girl named Victoria at a baseball game after luring her into a trap. At the library, Mike shows Bill via a drug-induced vision that the Native American ritual of Chud can stop it for good. Mike explains the ritual requires items from their past to be sacrificed. After this explanation, Bill goes to the storm drain where Georgie was killed and recovers his paper sailboat. Beverly retrieves Ben's love letter from her childhood home before being attacked by it in the form of a demonic elderly woman named Mrs. Kirsch. Richie goes to an abandoned cinema where he collects a game token and encounters Pennywise, who confronts him on his hidden homosexuality. Ben returns to the town's high school, while Eddie recovers an inhaler from a pharmacy and is attacked by the leper. Meanwhile, Henry Bowers, who was arrested for killing his father, is freed from a mental hospital by it. Bowers viciously attacks Eddie at the Losers Hotel before attacking Mike at the library. Henry nearly kills Mike, but Richie impales him before he has the chance. The losers then rejoin Bill, who just failed to save a young boy named Dean from being eaten by it, at the Neibolt house, and convince him not to face it alone. With their memories now fully restored, the group descends into a cavern beneath the sewers. Mike provides a rock from the losers' fight with the Bowers gang, and they perform the ritual in the remains of the meteor that brought it to Earth. The ritual traps the deadlights, its true form, in a sealing jar, but a giant red balloon emerges from the jar and explodes, revealing it has an enormous Pennywise spider hybrid. The creature pressures Mike into revealing a secret he had hidden from the losers. It killed the natives originally performing the ritual because their fears overtook them. It attacks the losers and places Bill, Ben, and Beverly in individual traps. They escape once Bill releases his guilt over being indirectly responsible for Georgie's death, and when Beverly realizes Ben was the one who wrote the love letter to her. Mike stands up to the creature only to almost get eaten, but Richie manages to distract it, getting caught in its deadlights in the process. Eddie saves him, but is fatally impaled by one of its claws. A weakened Eddie then explains how he made it feel small earlier by choking the leper nearly to death. The losers confront it about how they've overcome their fears and are no longer scared of the entity, causing it to shrink to a small, weakened Pennywise. Mike rips out its heart, which he and the losers crush with their bare hands, finally killing it. Richie and the others rush back to Eddie, but find out he's died from his injuries. Richie still believes he can be saved, but the losers have to drag him away. They're forced to leave Eddie's body behind while its cavern implodes, destroying the Neibolt house. The remaining losers return to their old swimming area and wash off after their confrontation with it, and join hands to comfort Richie as he mourns for Eddie. Its demise has also caused the scars on their hands to disappear. After the losers part ways, Ben and Beverly get married. Richie returns to the kissing bridge where he had once carved his and Eddie's initials. Mike decides to move out of Derry and start a new life, and Bill begins writing its new story before receiving a call from Mike as he leaves Derry, learning that Stanley sent them all posthumous letters. The letters reveal Stanley was too scared to face it, and that his suicide was intended to strengthen his friends against it. His last words in the letters indicate they will always be losers. In a good way.
Yeah. So,
because he says, if you're a loser, you have nothing left to lose.
Right. This was one of the... I didn't like this one. As much as I loved the first one, I came at a 2.5 on this one.
Oh,
I
that's
know.
a drop.
Let me see what Jamie's was, because I
gave this a 4.
Okay, let me see. Put 4, and Jamie came in as a 3. So I was the lowest on this one out of all of us. It was, for all the great things I loved about the first one, there wasn't that much in this one. They put so much humor for this one, and I felt like the flashbacks really didn't help anything. It kind of closed the gaps from what we didn't see,
right.
And which I understand that's what I was trying to go for, but I really didn't enjoy this one that much.
This one felt more angsty.
Yeah,
right.
It was very much a. I know it wasn't written this way, but felt like a let's go back just to go back to do get more money from this movie. I know it's not what the story is or was, but
Right.
like it was essentially it's an alien that
Yeah.
came in and crashed in Derry. The Indians have already tried dealing with it, and every 27 years it comes back around. But it was like, especially the end, I was like, okay, this is very weird. And I just didn't enjoy it that much. I felt like the Henry Bowers should have had a little bit more of a bigger role going into it a little bit. But that being said, if you look at it from like as a comedy horror, now, so how I described it last night is, like the little spoof scary movies.
Yeah.
That's what this felt like to me, because they put so much humor into it, and Bill Hader, I think, was a great cast for Richie. A lot of these people
Yeah.
are great cast for who they played, and I feel like they worked with the child actors a lot to try and get their mannerisms down from the first movie. But he had so much comedy, like, which he was a comedian, I get, but he was very comedic until find out everything that happens at the end. I don't know, it's just very kind of weird to me, but I still enjoyed it. Just the first one I loved, and I wanted more of the first one.
Right. I do like that they did have some of those newly filmed flashbacks to fill in gaps. The the casting was really good. They not just the mannerisms, but they got people that you looked at the child actors and you could believe that person grew up to
Yes,
look like this.
yeah.
Um, so that was good. I kind of I was always glad that they wrapped it up the way that they did as far as Stanley, because it meant he didn't just kill himself solely out of fear.
Right.
He knew that was the only way they could win, was for him to take himself out of the equation. So that was good. I I still think, and sometimes this is good when a film does it, sometimes it's bad. Um, the scene from the trailer that we get where she's in the apartment talking to the old lady,
God, that whole
and it's just look, little kids and old people can be some of the creepiest things in a horror movie. And again, we talked on the last one about looking into the background. While it's showing her close up from the perspective of the wall that she's looking at, and then behind her in a blur, you can see like the old lady has stripped down naked,
Yeah.
and she runs across the
this
doorway.
this is after she's like you're looking at Bev, and you can look down the hallway, and she kind of jumps and dances a little bit, then runs through. I was like, and then it does that scene, and I was like, we're about to see some granny titties. And sure enough,
And you kind of did.
I was like, oh god, I'll never get that
kinda
out of my
did.
head. Like that whole scene was probably like I don't say the worst CGI, yeah, but like you could tell it was CGI, that part, because like it was kind of cartoony, like her
I
eyes.
hope it was.
Yeah.
I hope nobody looks like that.
But it was that scene. I meant to bring that scene up because I'm glad you did, because that was great. That was probably the
It's,
creepiest part of this whole movie, was that bit.
Yeah, well, that or realizing that the same pharmacist is still working all those years
He was
later.
very gross looking.
Yeah, and he grabs Eddie's face and he's squeezing that
Yeah.
spot.
He's like,
He's like, that's probably cancer.
yeah. I guess I'll have something for that later. Talked about his
And then
mom. Oh,
and his
God.
daughter works for the guy.
Yeah. She looks the exact same.
Yeah. And you
Um,
start getting a sense that the kids that do survive, they either leave Derry or they're stuck there.
yeah. I like most
it's
kind of
just-
small towns kind of thing. Trying to think. Oh, do you notice like Eddie, was essentially married to his own mom. Like, I think that's how they
Yeah,
tried to play it as. I was like, okay,
yeah,
she's like this. And he even calls her mommy during the
yeah,
phone call. So,
yeah. And but then all that kind of gets explained. Whereas Richie, he kind of goes off and does his own thing, and he's by himself, right?
right.
And Eddie has just married someone like his own mother because you get the feeling that those two would have been together under normal
Yes.
circumstances, Richie and Eddie. Um, but I kind of like where they, Ben got into shape and became really successful, and
Mm-hmm.
Pennywise even throws it back at him when he thinks he's about to kill him, and he's like, all that money and all those sit-ups, and you're
Yeah.
still the same little fat,
Dude, it's so
and it's just like,
good. The
uh,
looks so a little couple of fun trivia things. Bill Hader was unaware that Bill Skarsgård could actually move his eyes in two different directions, like it. Hader asked Skarsgård what kind of editing was done to achieve the effect in the first movie. Skarsgård, in full costume and makeup, responded by saying, "Oh, you mean like this?" and showed him how he can do it naturally, which startled Hader quite a bit, which would terrify me too.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
let's see. Bill Skarsgård also stated that he had more fun on set during this movie because he was actually able to talk to and hang out with all the adult co-stars. Skarsgård had minimal contact with the child co-stars in 2017, so that they would be more genuinely scared of Pennywise once they saw him. He also had to calm them down after each shot, most times. So,
yeah. I could see how it would be more fun, more interactive
yeah.
for him.
I liked
Um,
seeing Stephen King in this one as well, which
yeah,
I didn't know he was in it, but instantly pointed him out when I saw him, which is crazy because I don't watch a bunch of horror films or anything that he's done. So,
I that was kind of it's one thing that's bugged me about this, right? So that scene in the pawn shop, Bill sees his bike in the window. He's like, I gotta have it. Pays him $300 for it.
because I know you've got the money.
It's not worth $300, but whatever. To him, it's probably priceless.
Right.
He rides it to the sewer drain, and we never see it again.
Nope.
Like, he mentions to the guy, he's like, what? He says something like, this bike helped me beat the devil or
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Maybe help
And
me
he
beat the
rides
devil.
off. He rides off. We never see it again. Like, it would have been cool to see him like ride it to the house, or unless I'm misremembering, and he did. I don't think he did.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That was a miss.
Yeah.
Bring it back up even once would have been nice to
Yeah. But
acknowledge it.
uh,
Um,
trying to think. There's nothing crazy. This is something kind of cool. Um, let's see. Bill Hader was approached for the role of Richie Tozier based on Finn Wolfhard's recommendation. Hader, who had never even met Wolfhard, was extremely flattered that he wanted him to take on that role. So, kind of cool. And then other
yeah.
stuff is Brandon Crane, and around 14 minutes into the film, young Ben from the original It 1990 makes a small cameo as a businessman on a video call to the current old Ben at the architect firm. So I guess at that corporate little office where all the percent
Mm-hmm.
table, one of the original Ben was there. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Good week this week though.
Cool. Yeah, I was wondering how it was good that we had last week off from recording, because I think that helped get these things watched and not feel just 3 in 1 week plus the 4 episodes of Harley Quinn. Was,
And, and these were long movies too. All these were over 2 hours long. So
yeah. Had I not been on overtime, I wouldn't have been as pressed, but it's what it is. Unfortunately, we need money to live, so
yeah, for some reason, it makes no sense to me.
none at all. All right, next week, Tyler says it's gonna get bad.
I'm not looking forward to this next week.
So first off, you've got the Blair Witch Project,
Mm-hmm.
and then The Exorcist. Now, you'll have to let me know which version of The Exorcist you plan to watch.
Okay.
Are you doing like a director's cut that
It'll
might be
probably
available?
be whatever one is free somewhere. Let me see. I think it's
Now,
on
also,
Hulu. It's on Max.
okay, it's on Max. Did they say what they have?
It's 2 hours, 2 minutes, 1973. Is that
Well,
the one where? No, this is a black and white. Is that the one where?
no, the film's in color.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to see with Ellen Burstyn, Max von
Yeah,
Sydow. Okay. It
yeah.
doesn't say. I'm trying to see if it details. It doesn't say. Just whatever the 2
Okay,
hour and 2 minute one is.
okay. Also, for the Blair Witch Project, you might.
I know both of these are being watched in the daytime, so just
Why?
I don't do demons and ghosts. So
Okay,
just don't do it.
okay.
This is the
Well,
1999
that's
one.
okay because they each have scenes that take place during the daytime, so it's fine.
Oh, fuck, wonderful. That's just great.
No, what I was going to tell you about the Blair Witch is they've done high def transfers, but because of how the film was shot, it was made to look like found footage, and it was
Okay.
shot on video. So you may it may actually look better if it's in standard def. Some people prefer the standard def version just because they feel like it looks better than them trying to uh, do a high
That's
def transfer.
that's a short movie too. It's only an hour 20.
Hmm.
I'm trying to see because it's on Amazon Prime. It says watch free with ads. I
If
don't particularly
oh
want to
you
watch with ads.
no, um, I've probably well I won't see you before then though. I was gonna say I think I've still got both. I've got both the DVD and the Blu-ray. I could just loan one to you, but I don't think I'll see you before then.
Oh, the
Um,
Paramount Plus has got it no ads. So
okay. The other thing, if you really want, let me look this up real quick. Because this was one thing that kind of sold me on it back in the day. Um, where is the? Okay, I think this might be the one. So back in the day when this came out, right? Because this came out in like 1998. Sci-Fi Channel had a documentary on that was I want to say this is saying it was called Curse of the Blair Witch.
okay.
Um, I thought it was something relating to Burkittsville, with Burkittsville in the title, but I guess not. Um, when that came on, the internet was around obviously in '98, but it had not blown up.
Yeah, it's not like it is now.
So you couldn't go online and go, okay, what's this project that they're talking about? So all you had was this documentary about this found footage that was put into a movie, and they were talking to people who lived in this supposed town about the case, and it really sold. It was viral marketing before anyone else had really done
Hmm.
that successfully, and uh, and so it really helped sell it. So if you have a chance, it might be on YouTube. Watch
Watch
that
the
too.
documentary. So
Yeah,
is
it's like
it
an hour, hour and a half.
is it this isn't like a real thing like the Bell Witch kind of stuff is, or this is just like a paranormal activity kind of thing where made up found footage.
I think they've said that they used the Bell Witch and one or two other cases to come up with this.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
fake, quote unquote.
yeah,
Okay, good. That makes me a lot better.
maybe.
God, I am not ready for. Oh, Paranormal Activity didn't get picked this year. I don't know why I've been sitting here dreading Paranormal Activity. It was on your list.
It was on the list, yeah.
Oh God. Okay. I don't know why I've been sitting here thinking about it.
That's all right. I got plenty of others that are gonna get you. So
Well, yeah, I just can't wait. I'm excited for Final Destination.
you've seen the second one, right?
Yep, that was the only one. I thought it was the
With
first.
the logs.
Yeah, still can't drive behind one of those. Refuse
Yeah.
to drive behind one of those. So,
I will change lanes quick.
yep, but very quickly, and I am very far back behind. So,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, Blair Witch and The Exorcist.
I'm excited. So, oh god, I'm really enjoying it this year, and I feel like every year we do this, I don't know, it's kind of like facing your fear kind of thing. It's each
Right.
year gets better and better for me. And I feel like our movies kind of go up on the scare meter too each year as well. I don't think it's really intentional, but it's just kind of how it's worked. The wheel of horror decides, But ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you think of all of our movies that we watched this week. Man, there's some fun ones. I'm really excited for the next couple of weeks too. Obviously, we're going to be doing Haunted Mansion, which drops on Disney Plus October 4th, which we knew it would, and I think they did that on purpose when they released it. So we're going to work that in probably within the next couple of weeks. We might do that on that week that it drops. Let's look into that because I might get a little break for that. So make sure you're paying attention to all the socials for anything crazy that comes out. For that, just search in Nerdwide on whatever social media you use, and we are there. Except for Threads, still working on that. I say it every week. I just haven't gotten around to messing with that. Honestly, I forgot the password, and I just haven't gone through the things of doing it. Anyways, social media, you can follow us all, which one you want to use. Thank you for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed talking about the horror movies of 2023 that we are watching, because I really enjoyed it. And it's, like I said earlier, I really want to buy the physical version of it, just because it's, you and I both, how we both love physical merchandise of what we watch and things like that.
Right.
So that's going to be, I'm sure they've done a steelbook of that.
Yeah, I've got a steelbook.
Oh, okay then. Well, I'm just gonna search that up, and I'm sure I think Best Buy will probably still have it. Not sponsored or anything by them. But don't forget to share it on all your social media platforms. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast on whatever podcasting service you use. Make sure you're subscribed, and make sure you go watch the newest Nerdwide Reacts of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Do I say some offhandishly crazy comments about the DCEU? Yeah. And do you need to pay attention to it? Yes, absolutely, so you can hold me accountable. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and listening. We really enjoyed doing this, and we hope you enjoyed watching and listening to this one as well. Until next week, this has been the Nerdwide Podcast, and we cannot wait to talk about some of these movies next week. Woo! We'll see you then, though.
Later, guys.